Yo, good morning, guys. What's good? Welcome to the Wednesday morning live stream. Um, Obviously, I didn't do the live yesterday. I did the interview. I posted the interview. I was working, so I had some shit I had to get done. And I work pretty far away from where I currently live, so I had to get all the way over there or work part time, I guess, a couple days a week. Regardless, I am here today coming to smoke with you guys. I think I have a news topic I actually want to talk about as well. Put the sock on. The shoes get too hot. Got a joint of black Zowers rolled up right here, and I'm here ready to smoke with you guys. Um, the only real topic I had that I wanted to talk to you guys is about some shit that's happening in DC. So over in DC, says Congress keeps DC marijuana sales ban in place. So they have a bill that has to be passed this week, without so they can get the budget set up and everything like that for the country and shit. Because the country's one big business, and so because of that, um, Washington D.C. will continue to be blocked from legalizing recreational marijuana sales, and yeah. But a separate provision protecting state and territory medical cannabis programs from federal interference remains intact in legislation. So this is actually probably positive for most of the country because everywhere else other than Washington, D.C. will be allowed to continue doing their at least medical, I guess, cannabis programs as they are, even though it's illegal. The government says they're not going to step in at this point. And so I guess that's a positive thing. But it's just an interesting thing that they legalized home grow and possession. Here it says President Biden's administration didn't help when it released budget proposal for the 2022 fiscal year, which remained the so-called Harris rider blocking DC from using its local tax dollar for allowing cannabis commerce, despite voter approval of initiative to legalize possession and home cultivation 8 years ago. So they allow for weed, and if anybody knows about DC, they have like strange like gifting laws and stuff like that has come about because they will not legalize the recreational market there, even though it's like 10 years since they've been saying that it was legal there, and then even a few years later when they started at least blocking the legalization and home cultivation of it. For some reason, they don't want those tax dollars to go to DC, and I know DC needs those tax dollars. I know their schools aren't amazing and shit like that. Um, and so it's interesting that even though the country's like, all right, all the states can do what they want, we don't want DC, this little city here, where the nation's capital is, I guess, to be known for having weed or something, even though there's plenty of weed everywhere. It's interesting how the government goes about some of these things. But if this stuff at the bottom of the article, it says this bill would head to the Senate and need to be signed into law by Biden ahead of Friday's midnight deadline to avoid a government shutdown. So as it's saying, they're not going to have another government shutdown, especially during this Russia shit and stuff like that. And this was all provided by Marijuana Moment. It's interesting that they're choosing to not allow to get the tax revenue in Washington, D.C. from recreational cannabis sales. And they've had, sorry about that, and they've had a decade to set it up. It's not even like it's been some quick transition. Like New York's figuring this shit out in under a year turnaround, damn near. And so it's pretty insane that because DC has no like formal government set up in the same way, and they get a lot of their approvals and shit from the federal government. I guess the federal government saying if we say recreational weed's legal in the state capital, then we damn near have to have it all across the country, and we're not ready for that yet. I don't know why we're not, but evidently the country's not ready for that yet. Ryan, what's good? Welcome to the live stream. Salmon, what's good? Welcome to the live stream. Got 6 people on currently. But I think that article perfectly illustrates the hypocrisy and kind of like the paradoxical things that are happening within the government. Just like, God damn, bro. So y'all are saying the states can do what they want with the medical markets and stuff. So that means there's nothing really wrong with weed. But this is where I was talking to you guys last week about wording and how when you play with wording like that, and now people are thinking medical good, recreational bad. I wrote a blog about that the other day too. Probably nobody read it, but it is very dangerous when they start naming shit and they start saying hemp, medical marijuana, good, recreational, adult use. Like they'll put a negative twist on that, or that's not necessary, or those people in jail are okay. Like you have to be careful with how we allow things to be labeled, because weed is weed, and they want to do this medical cannabis versus recreational versus hemp, and they want to pit these sides against each other so nothing can get done, when all of cannabis is like one thing at the end of the day. Sonic, always. We be getting deep in here quickly. Only got about 20 minutes. So I'll be getting to it. But yeah, it's interesting to see that the government is choosing to do these things or do it this way while still like legalizing, while still saying it's okay. But just know that. Just know that wording in the US is powerful everywhere. To where like if you create a word for something and then you push that word out and you make a buzzword out of it, people are going to associate certain emotions to it. And if the emotion to one thing is fear and the emotion to the other thing is safety, and you push that one group of people has the safe thing and group of people has a fearful thing, we create the same rift. You know, if people are saying that recreational adult use, weed still, if you use the word weed, it's not good, but medical marijuana is good, even though marijuana was originally was a racist term. So just watch out for wording and just always keep in mind that it's all cannabis. You know what I'm saying? It's all weed, it's all cannabis, hemp, CBD, all that stuff, all under the same umbrella. And they're going to try to spin it in society as being something else to make certain people more comfortable with it, you know, while also still alienating other people, you know. If people start to look at me and say weed smoker, and they look at an older mom or something like that, and they say cannabis consumer, y'all know what's happening. For real. I as much as I laugh, y'all know what's happening when they start labeling some people pothead, stoner. They're like, oh, he's a stoner. She's a cannabis consumer. She's a medical patient. He's a stoner. Like, we have to be very aware of those type of things, because that's what they're going to try to do. I would guarantee it. That's what they will always do. What's good, Yoel? That's what they'll do. They'll be, nah, she's in the exact same way. Some people will be like, they're a wine connoisseur or they're a liquor connoisseur. And then you look at somebody else and be like, they're an alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? They not necessarily if you're a connoisseur of alcohols, you're alcoholic. I'm not saying that. I'm not. Do not get me wrong. I'm sure there's a way that's not possible. But what I am saying is how you label these things. How you label these things matter a lot. And they're trying to make it to where, like, if you pop Xans, like, you know, people like get actual Xanax prescription, and they're like a better person than the person who just buys their Xans off the street. Like, that's what the government will tell you or whatever. Or like, these are different Xans. Or like, since this doctor told you this is a safe product now, you know. But not to equate weed with Xans, but you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And I know that there's people who need it. And I know that there's people who get addicted from it off the street. And I know there's people who get addicted from it off the doctor. But at the same time, if they're an addict to a substance like that, and it may or may not be helping them, you have to look at it like that too. I don't know. I might be saying too much, but all I'm saying is we have to look at how they word these things. We have to look at whether they're trying to cast a negative light on any area of the weed market. We have to look at it and be like, because not everything's not perfect, but you have to look at it and be like, is that not perfect because it was created like that, or is that not perfect because there's just some shit that has to be worked out? You know. What's good, Anthony? What's good, Ryan? Yeah, exactly. They did it with alcohol. Like alcohol is the fun party drink. Like people on the alcohol and the beer commercials and shit are having an amazing time, partying, having a great time. People who actually drink beer like sluggish and tired usually. You know, and so it's even like the image that people have of these things. Like drinking games, you could have fun playing drinking beer and shit, but even that, it's like a certain age demographic and stuff. And so it's like, damn, y'all are trying to sell alcohol to like barely legals. You know, like that's really what they're aiming for. Like old people know what they're going to be drinking or not drink. You're talking about Brittany Griner? Yeah, that's not smart to go to Russia and have weed in your bag. It's hard for me to feel bad for her. Like when I got in trouble in Texas, like I couldn't even really feel bad for myself. I'm like, I'm in Texas. You know what I mean? Like we still black, and we still traveling around, and Russia is a way more white supremacist country than the U.S. You know what I'm saying? The U.S. is, but Russia is like ahead of the U.S. because they don't have tons of different races of people. It's not thoroughly, they do probably, but it's not like thoroughly accepted as it kind of is here. But yeah, she got to be smarter than that. She can't be going to Russia and places. I'd never go. I wouldn't get on a flight, period, I don't think, with weed, for real. And certainly not an international flight. What's good, Grammy? How you doing? For sure, Sonic. That's what's happening to Delta 8. And because a lot of Delta 8 isn't necessarily tested properly, but it's not tested properly because there's not labs set up for it because people are trying to make it illegal. That's the thing. Like, that's why they try to say weed wasn't tested right. Well, maybe because there's no place to test it. You know, like, yeah. No, yeah, yeah, you can't sneak shit when you're 6'9". You're right, and you're 6'9" and black in Russia. You can't sneak shit. It's crazy. Like WNBA players, they be playing in like 2, 3 leagues a year to make ends meet, like make enough bread and shit. And then abroad, they'll pay you more and stuff. Which is wild. I think they pay you more abroad. I've thought about why they pay you more, and I think it's because the disparity between the leagues isn't as big. I think some of the women have a higher chance of competing with some of those European professionals than any woman would have a chance on like an NBA court. And yeah, it's just that simple. I think it's just the disparity of leagues for real. And the fact that like high school men's basketball in the US is a higher level than the WNBA of like basketball. And I don't know if that's a mean thing to say, but it's just a fact. You know what I mean? Like McDonald's All-Americans would destroy WNBA All-Star team. It would, like by 20, 30 points probably. And so because of that, like people are going to go watch. We have like high school leagues that are much better, you know, so people can go watch high school. College, there's probably 20, 30 college teams that are better than WNBA teams too. So you can go watch college. So like we have so many levels of men that are better. And I think in Europe, they don't have that. Like they don't have a huge high school system like that to where like people are packing out gyms to watch high school kids, or not historically, at least. So there's a lot of things like that. don't understand. You can't be in Russia with a weed and like dab pen too. Like, you just gotta chill in the weed for a little bit. It's just that simple. Hope you're having a good morning, Grammy. They just say whatever, hashish oil, like that's what they would call it in Russia because that's what they know. And they got a lot of hashish shit over there. I mean, we got to think Luka was like a pro over there, like 15. And Luka cold, but he not just gonna dominate people in the league at 15 here. Not on a day in, day out basis. Like LaMelo, and he went over there with his brother, and they were able to compete in that league and shit. And it wasn't the highest level in Europe, but still, like they were kids. They were kids. Yeah, JP will, but when you go play over there and shit, or like in these for these women's leagues and stuff, I would bet like they're because even the men, you're paying your way over there, like you're doing this, like they're not doing this huge transition pay for all that type of stuff. Like I would imagine, like they might pay for your flight, but you got all those moving expenses and shit like that. Like life is expensive for real. The amount of traveling you got to do and stuff, because you got to think most people that have like international jobs like that where they would be stationed in Europe and stuff, like you're getting a lot of money. If you're an American stationed over in Europe and stuff like that, whatever your job is, you're more than likely getting a good amount of money. And there are a lot of people getting a lot more than $200,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? Because it's expensive to even live internationally and have a lot of people have families in one country and they live in another country like those. So you got to have two places to live. You got to pay. It's crazy. LeBron was well here. LeBron was beating pros at 16. Easy, like destroying good pros. Other than Bron, KD is the only like pro-ready high school kid we've ever seen like that pro-ready in my opinion. Zion might have been better off if he hadn't gone to Duke. But still, not as developed. Like Bron came in ready to win championships in the league. People don't come in like that. Even KD didn't come in ready to win championships. Like Bron came in ready to like vie for championships immediately. And rookies that are like that, like we're starting to see more of them now, like Trae Young and stuff, but still they're not dominating games like Bron was. But people like Trae Young came in ready, Ja Morant came in ready, Luka Doncic came in ready. You know what I mean? Some of these people come in like really ready to win. Not even just to like get a starting spot. It's going to be a much better year because every time they're going to keep jacking up these cannabis numbers because every time they build, if they build just another dispensary in Chicago, the numbers will go up a lot. If they double the amount of dispensaries, the income would double because the price will go down. You know what I'm saying? So more than likely the price would go down a little bit, and so more people would buy it. It'd be more accessible to people, stuff like that. And so cannabis sales is going to continue to go up because there's still such a high barrier to entry to even have a shop, even what state you can be in, whether you have to be MSO, whether you have to have a couple million. So there's not enough shops to really have. So yeah, we've just seen the very beginning of the cannabis space. Like we just talked about how the government is not letting recreational sales happen in Maryland or in Washington, D.C., but they're saying everywhere else the states can decide, but they don't want it in D.C. I guess they don't want to have a recreational market in the country's capital. They'll have the worst school system in the country's capital, or one of the worst school systems in the country's capital, but they won't have weed. Some U.S. shit. So to answer your question, sales are for sure going to go up. Just as more places get legal, as they build more shops. Like Montana just said they did like 17 million or some shit, like 13 million in February or something like that. I just read. That's Montana. Yeah, 13 million in recreational marijuana during February for Montana. That's off of marijuana moment. That's insane. You know, for a place like that, because 13 million, like their economy is like literally changing before our eyes. You know, that's millions of dollars and more circulation amongst not even millions of people. You got to think they don't have that many people in Montana. They don't. I don't think they have a million people in the whole state. So $13 million is a huge influx of income that they didn't have available to them before. So during the ski season now, if people go up to the area, they buy weed and you make more money. You know, so the country has always been fighting itself. You know, it's a little bit too racist to move forward. It's really what it be. Dustin, I would definitely say if you freak out and you feel better, just smoke less. You might feel weird, but just if you roll up some shit, just take 1-2 hits and then put it down and see how you feel. A lot of times, if I start freaking out like that, it's really because I've just sat and smoked way too much. If I had a roll of smaller J's or something like that, but I think a lot of times it's how much you smoke, you know. My brand, what? No, I mean, no. Yo, well, I don't sell products or anything like that. I actually have a product that I want to show you guys coming up here soon. Probably next week I'll have it in. It's just a product I'm trying to see if people like, if I like, shit like that. I just had it made, so I'll get that. I'll show that. It's not closed or anything, but I'll show that to you guys probably on a Monday morning live. Not Monday, some morning. Whatever day I get it, that morning, y'all. The next day's morning, y'all see it. I got you, Grammy. I've been listening to a couple things, a lot of Currency recently. I've been listening to a lot of Currency recently, and Big Crit. I'm listening to some Saba too recently, especially because now the places he be rapping about are like right down the street from me, so it's a little bit more relatable. I still don't be over there though. 100 mil a year for a place under a million people is a lot of money, dude. That's a lot of money. Yeah, Delta 8 overall would be, oh hell yeah, Sonic. I fuck with that. I fuck with Currency tough. But like, I listened to hours of it yesterday, but I would say Delta 8 overall is weaker, but like you can hit it long enough. But I agree, like if you get that real paranoia with it, a lot of people like the Delta 8 too. And like for edibles, for me, I like it. It's way more controllable. It feels better to me. If you ain't on that new Currency, sleeping. That Continuance. This is what it looks like on the cover. It's like Project Housing. Currency and Alchemist. That was insane. It's actually pretty insane. But Currency drops so much goddamn music. It's like unbelievable. And now he drops him like just for his fans type shit. Like Currency not trying to blow or some shit like that. Like become much bigger than he is. Like he's good. You know what I'm saying? He want to do his other businesses. He want to grow Louisiana and shit like that. But like he's got his niche. In my opinion, Sauce Walka trying to do in Houston like what Currency doing like in Louisiana. You know, not really have a huge label. It doesn't seem like Currency. Maybe Currency want to go and get a bigger label and shit like that. But and like expand Jet Life and shit. But like get back to his surroundings and shit like that. And show people that you can be more like where you're at, which is a very dangerous proposition because most people try to do that, die pretty quickly. But I wish them both the best for real. Seems like Currency got love where he at. Sauce Walka might need to get out of Houston. For real, for real. But still, even with Currency, like Currency, the only nigga to like stay in New Orleans for real. All of them get out. All of them. Like Boosie talked about how you can't be staying down there. Boosie talked about how like Wayne had to dip. He had to dip. Like Baby had to dip. Like you having to dip. Oh yeah. I went to a Currency concert. It which really made me a fan because he didn't play no backup music or anything like that. He just ran the beat, just in that whole rapping his ass off. We was in that whole so high, and the nigga was just kept rapping. You know, a lot of times rappers play like the backup song and they'll chime in or whatever. Nah, Currency was spitting everyone bar for bar. Then he has such a rabid fan base that you're sitting there and the niggas next to you also like reciting every word bar for bar. You know, it's like you don't know what mixtape it's off of because Currency drops 12 a year. No bullshit, like one a month, sometimes more. And still, like his cult following knows the words bar for bar. I've actually only been to one other concert, I feel like, where the people were like such a cult following, and it was Nav. Like, Nav got a very cult following. I would say I'm a Nav fan, and I wouldn't say I know why. Probably because I liked Addy so much and he rapped about it so much when I was in college. But regardless, I went to a Nav concert and everybody there was like reciting every single word for word. I was like, good God, this shit's insane. And I've seen Drake and shit where people can do that, but he's a superstar. You really can't, he can't have a cult following. He's too big. But some of these people, and Nav, like everybody had on Nav merch too. Like people be wearing Jet Life merch too, don't get me wrong. But everybody got like Nav merch and shit. Like that shit was insane actually. And he was surprised. He was on stage like, fuck. He said it. He was like, damn, what did he say? He said, I'm lit as fuck in Denver or some shit like that. And he was going pretty crazy. And that Khalifa now, Sonic too. Now that Cookies combined with that Khalifa, I'm sure it's crazy. But I do want to try some of that Andretti pack. I got you. I've never really listened to them before. Grammy. If you use the Ocane Uni Pro, maybe just turn it down after it's heated up. But some of them, if you just have some like botanical terpenes, and some just have too high terpenes in general, some of them just make you cough like that. Like there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. I like Currency, but I definitely can't just recite you all his songs. I got a friend that could recite you all his songs though. For real. Sheesh, I've been here almost 30 minutes. Appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me. I'm probably about to get to work. Probably listen to some Currency, eat a little bit. I'll see you guys later. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great Wednesday. Wednesday? Shit, already Wednesday? Y'all have a great Wednesday for real.